Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where Macca comes to talk. Welcome, everyone. We got a lot to cover. Great new approval rating poll about the president we're going to get into. Tim Walz is in a panic attack like I've never seen a public official in my life. He's just having a complete freak out. Well, I take that back. The last time I saw a elected official having a panic attack the level of Tim Walz is when John Edwards was being chased into the men's room by a reporter when it was found out that he had impregnated a campaign worker while his wife was, he was married and running for vice president with John Kerry. He is in a big panic. We're going to get into that. There's a lot to cover, and your calls at 888-465-2631. But I'm going to jump right into it because this is great news. So CNN, I like this guy on CNN. I don't know his name. He doesn't seem to shave very often. He doesn't like ties, and his suits are very tight. But with all that, he always has good, accurate poll numbers for the President of the United States, Donald John Trump. And listen to this. President Trump, what I have in the title and thumbnail on YouTube is not clickbait. I do not do clickbait, okay? President Trump has an approval rating of 94%. I'm not kidding. Listen.
About what the president's done in Venezuela?
Let me be very clear. There is no rift in the Republican Party. Yes, there are some folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie who are quite skeptical of this. They are very much in the minority. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just talk the GOP on the U.S. military ousting Maduro? Ipsos, 65% support, 6% opposed. How about the Washington Post poll? 74% support, just 10% opposed.
Okay, now you see there? Now this is Republican support on our liberation of Venezuela. So look what they do here. The Washington Post, which is a deep state CIA newspaper, I talk about that a lot, right? They hate Trump like the plague. They're not ashamed of being Democrats. They brag about it. So they've got support in a post. 74% they have is supporting. 10% say that they oppose. Well, wait a minute. That leaves more. Where's the rest? So the president has a 94% approval rating. And if you look over here at the Ipsos poll, it's also great numbers. The president's approval rating is at numbers we've never seen before. It is absolutely amazing. And, the President Trump's approval, we're starting to actually see accurate polls now.
About what the president's done in Venezuela?
Let me be very clear. There is no rift in the Republican Party. Yes, there are some folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie who are quite skeptical of this. They are very much in the minority. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just talk the GOP on the U.S. military ousting Maduro? Ipsos, 65% support, 6% opposed. How about the Washington Post poll? 74% support, just 10% opposed. If you look among 2024 Trump supporters, we're talking about 80% support. The vast, vast majority of Republicans are with Donald Trump on this issue. Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene are very much in the minority. Very few Republicans are with him.
You say they're with him on this issue. Do you even need those words, this issue?
No, I don't need the words, this issue, because the bottom line is this. Donald Trump has had an iron grip on that Republican base for a long period of time, and it is the same iron grip that he had 6 months ago. I know every so often people are trying to say, oh, I spot these little rifts in the Republican base. They're finally starting to break. They're starting to break from Donald Trump. It ain't happening, at least when it comes to the approval rating. Look at this, 84% 6 months ago, 85% now. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know 85% and 84% are basically the same number. In fact, 85% is 1 point higher than 84%.
Show me.
Okay, I mean, he basically has almost a 100% approval rating among Republicans. And for those of you who say, well, wait a minute, that's just Republicans. Yeah, well, who cares? The Democrats, they're not voting for him. So what they think about President Trump doesn't really matter since they're going to vote Democrat anyway. So when it comes to the polls, I only look at the polls that show what Republicans think. And there's no poll that has the president under 85% support. That's amazing. And, you know, when you're talking about 100% of Republicans, you got a lot of rhinos and Bush people in that. So, I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, don't matter. These other polls, they sample Democrats, they oversample Democrats. It doesn't matter what Democrats think. They don't vote for Republicans. So we're in really a great time right now. And, you know, if we only had these accurate polls the last 10 years with the president's last couple of elections, right, how different the world would be. But, you know, when, you know, today's, you know, we got the January 6th, everyone's talking about January 6th, including Tim Walz. When the Otto Penn administration took over of Joe Biden's, I told you guys that were listening to me then, I said, listen, Trump's going to come back in 4 years. And I said that because I saw him about the last 15 minutes of his first term when he flew back home to Mar-a-Lago here in Florida on Biden and Kamala's inauguration day. You know, by the way, Biden's and Kamala's inauguration, that's the only presidential inauguration I did not watch in my entire life. I've never even seen a clip of it. I won't watch it. Never have, never will. But I saw, and those of you that were watching me on YouTube then, I was vlogging and live streaming, and I showed the president. He came right by me, and he was grinning ear to ear. And I said, that man doesn't have a worry in the world, so why should we be worrying? He knows something we don't. And what I was telling you guys after that time is that he's going to come back for a second and non-consecutive term, and we're going to find out that his second term is going to be better non-consecutive than back-to-back, because he's going to come back with a mandate. And look at what he's doing. Not only does he have a mandate, he's exercising the mandate, and he's doing everything that you could possibly imagine to reset not just our country, but the entire world, which he's been doing masterfully. So this is just a great time. He basically has almost 100% support among Republicans, right? Which is absolutely amazing. By the way, welcome. If you're new to my program, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. And the Brian Craig Show podcast is available wherever you get podcasts, whatever podcast platform you use. Just search for the Brian Craig Show and I'll pop up. If you want to catch the podcast in video form and live when you hear me taking calls, that's on YouTube and YouTube Music. Just on YouTube, search the Brian Craig Show and I'll pop right up. All right, so Tim Walz is freaking out. And, you know, yesterday he dropped out of the governor's race. And today, between yesterday and today, he looks like he's lost about 15, 20 pounds. He is going through major anxiety, major panic attacks, major worry, major depression. And he's really, what he's doing is he's running scared. Let me play a little bit of Tim Walz today. Here's the first clip. Listen to this. And by the way, they've sent... President Trump has sent, there are over 2,000 federal agents in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, looking into the Democrat-led Somali childless child care scandal. All right, look at and listen to Tim Walz here. Does this man sound sane? Is he fit to be governor?
This without having to spend any time worrying about the politics of this. I'm going to fight it, making sure that Minnesotans are cared for. I'm going to fight it by doing the respect that we should have for rule of law. So I just think all of you see this. It is just going to be relentless. Why 2,000 folks? What are they coming? Do they want to coordinate with us?
2,000 federal agents. He calls them folks, right? He calls them folks. And doesn't he look like he's lost weight since yesterday? He looks like it to me.
Some folks. What are they coming? Do they want to coordinate with us? You saw a U.S. attorney stand up, which was would have been let go by any other administration, speculating about things with no factual information. Yep. That's defamation. That's coming from the U.S. attorney. We are under assault like no other time in our state's history because of a petty vile administration that doesn't care about the well-being of Minnesotans.
But really, all of a sudden, he's not mentioning Somalians, immigrants. These are just Minnesotans now.
My job is to protect the well-being of Minnesotans. So the good news on this is Republicans are sure they're going to lose the governor's race dramatically. That's fine by me. I don't care who sits in this seat as long as it's not one of them who hurt Minnesotans. I care that it's somebody who understands and respects this office. Governor.
Okay, so yeah, isn't that something? He doesn't care who wins as long as they respect this office. Does he look like he's lost weight? You know, did you guys see that Switzerland did something I've never heard of them doing? Switzerland has frozen Maduro's bank accounts in Switzerland. I didn't know they did that. I didn't think they cared. You don't think these Democrat scammers that have their money in Swiss or Cayman accounts, you don't think that made them a little nervous? Now look at here, this next part. These are some of the investigators talking about what they found in Tim Walz's Minnesota.
Respects this office.
Governor. I spoke in the fall about the iceberg I saw ahead. Something's fraud that's much larger than what's been visible to the public. When I said that, it wasn't hyperbole or rhetoric, it was a warning. And today I want to talk and I want to show here a sense of what that iceberg looks like, because I think people deserve to know what that is and how big this problem is, because we can't solve the problem until we grapple with the size of it. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled the claims data for these 14 programs dating back to 2018. And those 14 programs in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018.
$18 billion.
And more than $3.5 billion in 2024 alone.
Crazy.
So that's a sense of the magnitude of the problem. These are
$18 billion.
Medicaid programs, which is just a part of Medicaid, these waivered services that have been flagged as having issues with program integrity and fraud.
Wow, that's amazing. $18 billion. Now, I know this has been a while, but I remember when the first space shuttle launched, the Columbia, and I remember how much it cost when it launched, $2 billion. And I remember there was a new aircraft carrier built when I was a kid. It was like a big, like one of the first super carriers. It cost $1 billion. I mean, think about it. Think about it. The Somalis, working with their Democrat allies, have stolen enough money just in Minnesota on Medicaid for 9 space shuttles or 18 aircraft carriers. Think about that. That's how much money they've taken. You know, there's certain amounts of money that, and $18 billion is an example of it. It's too much money for the human mind to be able to comprehend. It's so much money, we cannot wrap our head around it as to how much money it is, right? But it's a lot, and they got caught. And I've been talking about this since Nick Shirley dropped his incredible reporting. And what I've been saying is this: I think that this Medicaid fraud system that Nick Shirley exposed in Minnesota is why they picked Tim Walz to run with Kamala Harris as vice president. The Democrats view what he has done in Minnesota as an amazing thing, and they all went in on it, and they wanted to take him to Washington so he could show all the other blue states, counties, and cities around the world how to duplicate the fraud that they have going on in Minnesota in their towns, in their states, in their counties. They were going to take it nationwide, the Minnesota model of fraud. That's the only reason I can think of that they would have picked him. And you look at how he has been behaving the last day, especially today. He's completely unhinged. He's completely panicked. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about is Greenland, because a few things have happened today involving Greenland, including Bill O'Reilly, who was in on a meeting with the president on Greenland, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But this is something that just broke a little while ago. Greenland and Denmark have requested a meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. What do you think that's about? They're looking to make some kind of deal, and this is something. This really is truly something. And Denmark wouldn't be looking to talk to Marco Rubio if they didn't think that the natives of Greenland wanted to make an agreement and become a part of the United States. You know, one of the cabinet officials said there's only 30,000 in Greenland. Those are the adults. And the native population of Greenland, which are Inuit Indians, like the Eskimos, same group as the Eskimos, the deal that they have with Denmark, tiny little country Denmark, who's been stealing and pillaging the natural, very valuable resources from Greenland for themselves and ripping off the natives there, the agreement that Denmark has is that any time that they want, Greenland can leave the Kingdom of Denmark. They just have to vote on it. And if there's only 30,000 adults, that's less people than your average Trump rally. So you only have to get 15,001 to want to join the greatest country in the world, the United States. And Denmark must think that they're going to do it. Here's the president on Air Force One Sunday heading back to Washington from Mar-a-Lago.
I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
they thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification?
Oh, I don't want to talk about Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it, and they know that.
Yeah. So President Trump, President Trump is very, very smart with the way he handles things. And Bill O'Reilly, let me find this clip of Bill O'Reilly. I was going to get to it a little later, but I want to get to it now. Well, let me get to this, because Bill O'Reilly, he was in a meeting with the president and on Greenland. Hold on, this is Bill O'Reilly on News Nation.
Here's what Greenland's all about, and I know this because I sat in a meeting with President Trump to discuss Greenland. President Trump wants military bases in Greenland, U.S. Air Force and Navy. He wants it to blunt the Arctic expeditions of Putin and China, which are actively underway. That's what he wants. His negotiating ploy is to create chaos in Copenhagen, which he is doing, and CNN is helping him do that. We're not going to take over Greenland. I heard about, 8 months ago, we were taking over Canada, Leland. Remember that? We're going to take it over? I don't think that's happened. Okay? So all of this is what Trump does. He creates chaos, and then he gets his deal. We need, the United States, military bases in Greenland. I suspect we will get them. All right? That's what it's all about. I'm sorry the CNN viewers are so upset. I really am. And they bring on some Danish guy with a pipe and a beard. Oh, the story, it's like, this is a cartoon. Let's live in the real world.
Okay. And, President Trump, if you follow President Trump, or if you just go and read Art of the Deal, which, it spells out everything. Whenever you see Trump with any negotiation, he always says he wants a lot more than he plans on getting and a lot more than he really wants. So when the other side makes a counter offer that is much less than what he's asking, he asks for so much more than he wants, he still comes out ahead, right? Like when he was dealing with Pelosi and Schumer in his first term with the wall funding, he was asking for, I can't remember what it was, like $12 billion or something, and they ended up giving him $8 billion. He only wanted $3 billion. So he got more than twice what he wanted, but they thought that they won something. So there's a panic going on in Europe. In Europe, they're talking about expelling the United States from NATO if President Trump seizes Greenland in all of this. Well, look at this. They're looking to make a deal with Greenland. And we have a protectorate agreement with some other places like around the world that are not a part of the United States. And they're looking to make a permanent long-term agreement where Greenland will be independent, but we're going to have a connection. They're going to be part of the protection of the United States. They won't, and there's going to be a lot of benefits because they're going to get the money from their resources that Denmark's been ripping them off. He's not planning on seizing Greenland. He's not planning on conquering Greenland. I don't even think he's going to go for the vote to join the United States. He's going to come to an agreement with the governor of Greenland and the people that are there. Well, they'll be an independent nation under the protection of the United States. They'll be like a territory of the United States, but they'll be self-ruling. Okay, almost kind of like very similar to the Commonwealth with England, except they're not going to have to pay us dues, right? They're going to be making money. So that's what he's going to do, and that's what he wants, and this is an absolutely amazing thing. And, right now, all these liberals who are panicking, right, about us taking Greenland, it's unconstitutional, it's imperialism, he's conquering lands, and all this stuff. Nothing could be further from the truth, but the reality is this, that China and Russia are already operating in Greenland waters. Denmark can't do anything to stop them. They're a tiny little country. If the lights went out in Denmark, how long would it be before anybody noticed in the world? No one would even notice. They're not players in the world. Maybe they never were, but certainly haven't been for a long time. They're an insignificant little country, Denmark, that's basically just a tourist trap for some tourists. They stop in for a day when they're off to somewhere else on a European vacation, okay? They're not world players, and they're going to lose this one because there's a major threat coming from Russia and China that are operating in and around Greenland right now as we speak. They've been operating there for years, and Trump wants the control to kick them out, which is a security threat to the United States, to Canada, and Europe. And it's going to happen. And, he's asking for so much more, not just so when they make concessions, he'll still get more than he wants. And you can see these emergency meetings that they're calling, that Denmark and Greenland are calling with Marco Rubio. Something's in play here, right? But this is going to happen, and it's this year, 2026, is going to be it's a midterm election year like no other. One of the major issues is going to be this fraud in Minnesota, and Greenland very well may become a protectorate of the United States before the end of this year. That military operation in Venezuela, showing our advanced military, where we defeated the most advanced weaponry that China, Russia, and Iran had, that was operating down there in Venezuela. The rest of the world's panicked right now. They didn't realize how advanced and powerful the United States is, and that President Trump is well prepared to use whatever force he has to use. So he's going to get what he wants. And you know what? That's a good thing. Okay? If you're an American, this is a good thing. All right. Now, if you'd like to call in, I got a lot to cover. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to get into some other topics. And I've got some more on Tim Walz that I want to share too after the break. But if you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are, and he went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian.
So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
A fine gentleman. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and we brought all our information, and he worked everything out great.
The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can you talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Well, that's where I was surprised when we sat down. We talked about the bonuses, and to my amazement, it was 10%, and there was even another one that's bigger.
Wow, that's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back in your car.
Yeah, it was more than that, but it was great.
Listen, guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999, and online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Hi, it's Dr. Philip Appleton. You've been hearing my commercials about bye-bye pain, my laser weight treatment, but today's commercial and today's spot is going to be on Tom Laporta, Laporta Roofing. What an experience I've had with him and his company. They've done a few of my friends' houses and my son and my house, and there's never a downtime. They're old school, which means you call them up, they'll be there. How many times have you called somebody up and they never show up, or they give you an excuse, weather, traffic, whatever? Tom Laporta, what a class act. The workmanship, the magnificent teamwork they have. I recommend them 100%.
Thanks, Dr. Appleton. Now do what Dr. Appleton did. Pick up your phone and call Tom Laporta from Laporta Roofing on your cell phone. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. If you're on hold, stand by. The Speaker of the House really dropped a big one just a bit ago, and I'll share that with you. And I just was thinking, Steve Scalise is standing behind, and Steve Scalise, he's another Republican shot by a Democrat, right? Like Charlie Kirk, like President Trump, the Democrat that attacked J.D. Vance's home the night before, early yesterday morning. And Steve Scalise shot by a Bernie Sanders campaign worker. I tell you. That's how the Democrats are. Terrible people. All right, listen to the speaker.
Very aggressive legislative agenda coming right out of the gates in January. We're going to continue to work, for example, on health care to continue to bring costs down for the American people, to bring down the cost of living overall. You're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda, and we're going to see continued codification of the president's executive orders. He's up to about 200 of those. Probably about 150 of them are codifiable by Congress, and we're working steadily through that list. You're going to see us delivering for the American people while the effects of that giant piece of legislation that we did on July 4th, got signed on July 4th, comes into implementation. So much more yet to do. And the president and I talk about that almost every day, and he's excited about it, and I am. Okay, so these executive orders, this is a absolute amazing thing. These executive orders are going to be made, codify means they're going to be made law. So they're going to be the law of the land, the executive orders. And he has signed some good ones, hasn't he? Oh, boy, they're all good. And he really signs them. Did you see that speech he gave today? It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was a great one. And he was talking about how you could tell the difference between the real signature and the auto pen with the two dots. It was pretty cool. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Afternoon, Brian. Dr. Nine out of California.
Hey, what's up?
I am ecstatic once again. Each day just seems to get better and better. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you because I've been listening to your channel for a while, and I've been listening to the advice of your metals guy. Mm-hmm. And my silver is doing outstanding. I bought it at the beginning of the year, and it's been doing absolutely incredible. So I followed his advice. So, yeah, listening to you is making me money.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know what a lot of people do? I see a lot of people that are like retired when I go to William Youngerman's, and what they do is every once in a while, they just bring in a coin because they're retired now, right, to supplement their Social Security, and they just bring in a coin or two and turn it into cash, and then they do what they got to do. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
It's a great thing to see that our metals are once again having some real strong value.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's fantastic. I was listening to our president earlier today while he was having a discussion with the GOP, and basically, hopefully, lighting a fire underneath them in regards to this upcoming midterm. And I am very, very, very hopeful. I have no idea why anybody would be able to rationalize voting for another party that is not the party that is standing behind our current president. With all of the issues, specifically of fraud, specifically in my state, I am looking forward to it being an extremely competitive race, and one that I'm hoping comes true, that California is going to end up turning red.
Well, a lot of the country is a lot more red than people realize. There's so few Democrats left. There really are not that many.
I think with voter ID, if we can get that through, and I think there is probably over $100 billion of fraud. They're saying like 70 something. I think it's much more, probably even over that. That's going to come to light. I honestly, I don't think a rational human being would be able to vote for a Democrat because this state has been run into the ground. And
true.
It's going to be a show, and I'm going to love it. And what's so funny is that Newsom is he's not going to be, Tim Walz is no longer going, he's probably going to end up in jail. I wouldn't be surprised if Newsom is right next to him, too, because he has a history of being corrupt.
Well, whether or not Tim Walz goes to jail or not, I mean, they sent 2,000 federal agents to Minneapolis, to investigate this fraud operation. And I wasn't exaggerating when Tim Walz looks like he's lost about 15 pounds in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, he looks like he's living scared.
Well, because he's here's the thing about criminals. I see this when I watch ID with the detectives, and they say this all the time. They say when they bring people in for interrogation, they're freaking out on the inside because they think we know everything, when we may know nothing or just a very, very little. So everything we know about with the fraud, Tim Walz knows about all of it, and he's afraid they know about all of it.
Can you imagine if it ends up coming up that he was involved? Because I know that President Trump had mentioned.
How do you commit $18 billion in theft from Medicaid without the state government knowing about it? How's that possible?
Exactly, but what about the unaliving of those two members that were in the legislature within that state?
That'll be investigated. That's going to get another. That's going to get a good, solid investigation. All right, listen. I appreciate the call and congratulations on the silver.
Great day.
All right, take care. Take care. I'll tell William Youngerman tomorrow. All right, since it's January 6th, one of the most misquoted things the president's ever said.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Peacefully and patriotically. Peacefully. They always cut that part out, don't they? Absolutely they do, because it doesn't fit their narrative. They want, and the sad thing about that is that, and this is really an upsetting thing when it comes to January 6th. The news media spent 4 or 5 years with that edited video of President Trump and putting everything out with the wrong conclusions and everything, that the historical record may record the liberal lie about January 6th as opposed to what really happened. That's why it's so important for all of us to speak about it and cover it, and for the president to talk about it. That's why he talks about it so much. In every speech, he references it pretty much, doesn't he? And the reason he does that is because he wants all of his speeches as president in his second term that are part of the historical record, because he's a very historical president. He wants, no matter what speech you go and pick up of his, you find out the truth. That's why he's always referencing it. And the president's speech today, he was talking to the Republican congressional retreat. And it was a good one, man. It was a good one. He talked, I don't know for how long, 2.5 hours? You know what I wonder, when the president is giving these long speeches, like, who's running the country? But it was a very good speech. He looked to me and sounded like he was just so energized today, didn't he? Did any of you guys watch this? He was so full of energy and just so excited about everything that's going on, because so much good is happening. And over on the War Room, Steve Bannon was commenting on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even...
Now, let me fast forward a little bit so we can get by that.
A world historical figure like Donald Trump sit there for an hour and 50 minutes, not use one
50 minutes.
line out of the prepared remarks that he had today to talk to the House guys, and sit there and really off the top of his head, as he calls weave, but ties all this together of everything he's been doing and how it ties together with humor and insight and stories. I know many of you, I could watch that all day because it's never happened. You know, Roosevelt's fireside chats, I don't care. It's never happened. You're seeing the thing itself right there. And it's funny, and it's, some of it's caustic. He's very self-deprecating. Right there you're seeing that's the real Trump, and it's extraordinary.
Yeah, and he was telling great jokes about Melania and all kinds of things. It was a good one. If you missed it, go and watch it later. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yeah, okay. Appreciate it. It was a really good one. And, and what was good about it is that this was the congressional caucus, the congressional conference, the congressional retreat. And he was going through the agenda for this midterm election year, and he was getting nothing but applause from the Republicans for everything he was proposing, and a lot of it. And you put that together with what Mike Johnson said, the Speaker of the House, and we're going to get the entire Trump agenda through. Promises made, promises kept. By the time the midterm elections are over, we're going to win the midterm elections. And the reason we're going to win the midterm elections is not just because Trump is so incredibly popular, doing everything right. We're united, contrary to them telling us that we are not united. Now, here's again a very bizarre Tim Walz today.
Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away from making this. Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere, as if it's up to him, right? See how skinny he is there? And let me reduce the size of this for you guys watching. Look at his hair. His hair, I know he doesn't have a lot of it on the top of his head, but his hair is unkempt. You can tell he's lost weight, not just because his face and neck are thinner, but look how baggy his suit is. He is in a real state of freak out. And you know what? I would say based on the way that Tim Walz is reacting right now and the way that he looks, I would say that we have maybe an 80% chance of him getting arrested and going to jail, maybe even greater, because Tim Walz, he thinks there's about a 95% chance that he's going to get arrested. You can tell by the way he's acting.
State, there's full accountability for everybody because I buck stops with me. I'm accountable for this.
So he's responsible for all this fraud. Is that a confession, Tim Walz?
State, there's full accountability for everybody because I buck stops with me. I'm accountable for this. And because of that accountability, I'm not running for office again. But I have a year to continue to improve on a record that I think will stand up against anybody's, a record that has made Minnesota better, a record that makes people want to come here, and a record that has respected not only the dignity of people, but the idea of rule of law, state.
Well, I will agree. He's going to have a record, quite possibly a criminal record. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. It's a toll-free call, no matter where you're tuned in from. The number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. Do mealtimes feel more stressful than satisfying in your home? You're not alone. Between busy schedules, picky eaters, and rising grocery costs, eating healthy can feel impossible. That's why Dennis Heikkinen wrote the family-friendly Healthy Eating Cookbook, available on Amazon. This practical, easy-to-use cookbook is packed with over 100 simple, nutritious, kid-approved recipes designed for real families and real life. Every meal is easy to prepare, budget-friendly, and made to help your whole family enjoy breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even snacks without spending hours in the kitchen. Whether you're a busy parent, a beginner cook, or just trying to build healthier habits at home, the family-friendly Healthy Eating Cookbook gives you the confidence to cook with ease and bring joy back to your life. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and free with Kindle Unlimited. The family-friendly Healthy Eating Cookbook on Amazon. You know that frustration. You're doing everything right, working harder, spending more time on your marketing. You're hiring good people too, and still you're stuck. What if the real problem isn't what you think it is? Did you know that most high achievers are stuck because they're solving the wrong problem? You can get unstuck. You just need the right help and guidance. And that's what you will find on Beyond Blind Blaming, the podcast hosted by Kevin D. St. Clergy. Kevin learned early that when you can't see the real issue, even your best efforts, they'll fail. Now he helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and high achievers uncover the hidden blind spots that are holding them back. Each episode of Beyond Blind Blaming breaks down real business and leadership challenges, profit issues, team problems, scaling struggles, and reveals what's actually getting in the way. On Beyond Blind Blaming, there's no hype, no blame, just actionable clarity. If you're ready to stop solving the wrong problems and start leading with purpose, add Beyond Blind Blaming with host Kevin D. St. Clergy to your podcast playlist right now on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and stop feeling stuck. In the holy city of Helvar, oaths aren't just spoken, they're carved into stone and burned into flesh. From author Chase Powers comes an epic fantasy where faith is weaponized, mercy is dangerous, and the truth has a long memory. Star Forged Oath, available on Amazon. Kale Ren wants only 3 things: to stay alive, get paid, and avoid anything resembling belief. Instead, he's bound to a sentient star-forged sword that remembers every broken vow and hates the men who called themselves holy. As sacred trials turn bloody and the city's most revered legends begin to crack, he's forced to choose between survival and exposing a lie powerful enough to burn a kingdom. Star Forged Oath is full of sharp banter, found family, corrupted holy orders, and magic that always comes at a cost. If you like swords that argue back, heroes who question the gods, and stories where mercy is the most dangerous weapon of all, Star Forged Oath is your next must-read book. Available right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and free with Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now and step into the crater. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast, available wherever you get podcasts. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Leo calling from up in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got family down in the States, and we were talking recently about this Maduro capture, and I was trying to get their feelings on it because as of late we've just been talking about consistency in the administration.
Yeah.
And I don't see how this is consistent with the messaging that.
How so? What you mean? Trump taking Maduro into custody doesn't fit into. Explain to me what you mean.
Well, it's that, and then it's then okay. We'll seize the oil now. Venezuela is going to virtually be, kind of under our control for a while, and then Rubio says, okay, well, Cuba might be next, and these other places are got to fall in line. So how is that all in line with like getting rid of this like imperialist system the U.S. has set up for so long?
Venezuela has been allied with America's biggest enemies: Cuba, Iran, China, and Russia. They've all been operating in Venezuela, okay? And what the enemies of our country have been doing with Venezuela is for years attacking our country, the United States. They've been invading our country with violent illegals at our southern border that are committing all kinds of crimes, including rape and murder in this country, killing people almost every day of all ages, including children. They've been sending an unlimited amount of illegal drugs into our country. They've been overwhelming our systems at both the national and local level, our justice system, our jails, our prisons, our hospitals, our whole healthcare system. It's been a constant attack on this country that over 300,000 Americans have been dying because of each and every year for many, many years. So it's not about imperialism. It's about defending the United States.
No, it is, because what's the next step? You can do it to these countries because they're easy to bully, but
they're not easy to bully. We're
sure they are.
No, they're not. We're just the most powerful country in the world by far.
So you can do whatever you want around the world. I thought the whole point was to stop with these foreign.
If Venezuela
stop with these.
What? If Venezuela is killing 300,000 Americans a year, and they're literally invading our country for years at the southern border.
How are they killing 300,000? Sorry, how are they killing 300,000 Americans a year?
Much of it is drug related from the drug cartels.
They are hardly involved in the drug trade. You're thinking of Mexico and China.
No. Venezuela, Maduro is the head of a cartel. They have been shipping and transporting illegal drugs into the United States. So the 300,000 is a mix. It's from
so is Scheinbaum next? Is Mexico's president next? Because Mexico's probably putting more drugs to your country than.
Yeah, President Trump has her on.
Combined.
Yeah, President Trump's warned her. Yeah, she's a figurehead. She's run by the cartels.
So this is the precedent that you are all going forth and saying this is okay. We'll seize any president, any official that we deem an enemy of the state. We'll pardon the ones.
These people they're attacking the United States and killing our people.
Okay, so nothing's changed really in U.S.
No, a lot has changed. You know, American lives. No, excuse me. American lives by the tens of thousands are being saved for every year going forward, forever. Millions of people's lives will be
forever.
saved.
I think you underestimate the willpower of the American people. If they don't get their drugs elsewhere, they're happy to manufacture
Well,
themselves.
you're calling from Canada. President Trump said on Saturday at his press conference about Maduro that most of the illegal drugs coming into the country today are coming from Canada.
Oh, so we're next then?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, your country is allowing the importation of illegal. No, it's called self-defense. What are we supposed to let? We're supposed to let Canada and Latin America kill our people and bring drugs into our country that are killing people? That we're supposed to just take that? Why? Why can't we defend ourselves?
That's not.
Explain that to me. Why are we not allowed to defend ourselves?
You've lost the plot, man.
No, I haven't lost the plot.
This is so far fucking gone from the initial.
Well, see, I'm glad that you're not approving. We see. This is the thing that people in other countries don't understand. Whether it's Canada or Europe, Americans, we don't care what people in other countries think about us or our country. We don't care.
Evidently, yeah, I know.
Why should we? Canada.
Yeah, no, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you to give a shit about what other countries think. But,
yeah.
I mean, this is potential irreparable harm that you're causing with the facade of we're saving lives.
We are.
You are causing fucking instability.
No, we're bringing stability to the Western Hemisphere. And when President Trump takes Greenland, your country, Canada, is going to be a lot safer too once the United States takes Greenland.
Maduro has been taken for, I don't know, like 5 days now, or some less. But so we'll see how well that stability
Already,
really plays
what
out.
President Trump has done already, that illegal drugs coming into the United States by sea from Latin America is down 97%. We've shut down most all of the illegal drug importation from our southern border. And President Trump put Carney on notice that most of the illegal drugs are coming in from Canada now. I mean, how do you feel about that your country is importing illegal drugs, heroin, fentanyl, cocaine into the United States? What's the matter? Everything we've done for Canada? Why are you doing that to us up there?
I mean, you guys are the main importer of legal guns into our country, so I mean, it's tit for
We don't
tat,
import illegal guns into your country.
Oh, but okay, so then Canadians don't import illegal drugs to your country. It's select.
Canada doesn't do anything to stop it. We have strict laws on guns in this country. Very strict laws.
Yeah, okay.
You just can't go and buy a gun and walk out with it, except in some unusual circumstances. If I went to a gun store, I couldn't walk out with a gun today.
Yeah, well, we have strict gun laws here too, but illegal guns are pouring in from your border into our country as well.
Okay,
so
well, whatever.
Would that give Carney grounds to pluck Trump out of the White House?
I'd like to see him try.
Well, see, okay, so that's the thing. This is might equals right, because you have the power,
right.
You have the ability.
That's right.
That's not how law works, actually. I'm sorry to say.
Donald Trump is the law of the world. We're the leader of the world.
So there you go. So this is not about any basis of moral justice.
No, this country, the United States.
My big guy has the biggest gun. He can do what he wants because he writes.
What he is doing, what Donald Trump is doing. Let me tell you what he's doing. Okay, I'll be more serious about it. I'm just having fun with you. President Trump has put together already an alliance of Latin American nations in both Central and South America that are allied with the United States, okay? El Salvador, Honduras, Argentina, and Chile all have MAGA leadership recently elected. Now we've got Venezuela.
They're getting fat stacks from Trump.
Now we've got Venezuela. So President Trump has put together, we've got an alliance of 5 major nations in Latin America.
It's not a major nation. Sorry to break it to you.
In that neck of the woods, they are, and they're doing us great favors by housing these scumbag terrorists in their prisons down there. They're a very important ally of the United States. So we've got this alliance of 5 countries already. The fake Maryland man? Yeah. What about him?
Yeah, like you mean like he got sent down to CCOT and then the press was
we've got a bunch of liberal Democrat judges that have some fetish for this guy and they keep letting him out of jail. That's okay. He can go make his TikToks.
Okay, but so if Trump but if Trump's the law, right? So he should just not pay attention to what judges have to say, right?
The president of the United States does not answer to federal judges. They're not his supervisor.
Not even the Supreme Court?
Supreme Court's a little different. Supreme Court doesn't boss the president doesn't answer to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decides whether or not something is constitutional or not.
Yeah.
And then what can happen is...
if Trump does something unconstitutional, then he's disobeying...
He does
not only the Constitution, but what the Supreme Court is deeming constitutional.
Well, he hasn't. The Supreme Court's ruled on his side. On everything.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I'm going to run, but I appreciate the call. All right, take care. Appreciate the call. You know, I feel bad for those of you that aren't Americans. You know, it's pretty cool living in the most powerful country in the world. But I want to talk seriously about what I was talking to this Canadian guy about. The biggest threats to the United States have been coming from Latin America. President Trump's put this alliance together already in this first year of 5 nations, including Venezuela, that are allied with the United States, and more countries are going to come in on our side. Cuba is going to fall. It's going to fall soon because Cuba is on life support. They've only maintained power because of the free oil that they've been stealing from Venezuela. The oil is cut off. They don't have enough already to power their electricity all day and all night like we do in modern countries. So Cuba is going to be without electricity real quick. That country is going to fall. The communists are going to fall there. And the biggest problems that this country has had are Latin America bringing drugs, bringing people, bringing criminals, killing our people. And they've had the backing of China, Russia, Iran, and a couple of others, including Hezbollah and such, to weaken the United States so that these other countries could run around and commit havoc. And now the United States is back with a real leader, and there's a reset going on. This military action in Venezuela served many that have been talked about. But the other thing that's very important to understand, I talked about this on the program this morning and on yesterday's podcast, but I want to talk to you about it again. A lot of information has been declassified already about the Venezuelan operation. We hit that. They knew we were coming because we've had the fleet there and we've been flying F-16s over Venezuela for weeks. They didn't get a shot off. No American was killed, no equipment lost. And what we did is we attacked. The first wave of attack came from stealth fighters. I believe they're F-35s, flying out of an Air Force base we have in Puerto Rico. The radar system we took out first. That was a Chinese radar system, the most advanced radar that the Chinese have. Their anti-aircraft batteries were the most advanced Russian anti-aircraft batteries that Russia has. We took them out. Their other line of defense were drones that were the most high-tech, advanced Iranian defensive drones. Nothing of that. They were all of the people at the anti-aircraft batteries, the Chinese radar people. They don't even know that there was an attack on Venezuela. They were vaporized by the F-35 American stealth fighters before they even knew what happened. And Russia, in their invasion, they took Crimea when Obama was president. They went into Ukraine when Biden was president. China's been moving around threatening Taiwan and doing all this crap. Donald Trump in this action in Venezuela early Saturday morning defeated the most advanced weapons technology of China, Russia, and Iran. And to use a bit of profanity, they're scared shitless right now. They did not realize how advanced our military technology was. And based on what we've seen so far, I believe that we are about 25 to 30 years technologically ahead of all these other countries when it comes to military tech, maybe even 50 years ahead of them. There's been talk the last, 15 years or so, maybe a little longer, that China is the new superpower along the United States. They are not a superpower. They have no oil now. That they're very little. They're in big trouble. They can't get it from Venezuela anymore. Just like Cuba. Their most advanced weapons system failed to an American attack. And I bet you that it was Chinese people operating the Chinese radar, Russians operating the Russian anti-aircraft, not Venezuelans, and Iranians manning the drones. And we took them all out, which means we killed Chinese, Russian, and Iranians probably, at least Russian and Chinese in that attack. And they didn't even know what happened. If you remember when Biden was president, look what the Chinese were doing. They were flying that damn balloon around like they owned the world. And we kicked their butt in seconds. And we grabbed Maduro, and no one even, it was insane how quick it happened. And right now, Putin came to Alaska a few months ago, showing off and showboating and treating President Trump like some kind of jerk. And now, right now, he's crapping his pants, Putin, and saying, my goodness, I didn't realize how advanced the Americans were. They might come and get me. And we know all the crap that China's been pulling since President Trump's first term. And if you remember, in President Trump's first term, when he was doing those afternoon press conferences during the lockdowns with Fauci and Birx and those idiots, he almost talked about the origins of everything. And he said, and I saw this live, he says, I can't say that because people will want me to do something that I don't want to do, which means attack China. China is terrified right now because like Putin, they didn't realize how advanced and powerful we were. And what's happened here, and with the Canadian guy that called, and this is a very serious thing that's happened, and it's very important. The world right now is more stable than maybe it has ever been in any of our lifetimes. Meaning, these other countries thought, and they really did, Russia and China thought they were the equal of the United States. Well, they learned Saturday morning that they're not. Okay? And Iran, when we took out that reactor through that little air pipe, right? I mean, that was an amazing thing. They felt it, but now Russia and China felt it. And they're like, holy smokes. We've been playing all these games with the United States. How have they not blown us up? They're not our equal. They're nowhere near our equal. And quite frankly, the Russians and the Chinese, they might as well be flying biplanes and dirigibles with as advanced as we are against them. So what's going to happen now is these countries are going to stop acting up, and they're going to start acting respectful to the United States because they don't want to get snatched in the middle of the night. And so far as Scheinbaum, the cartel puppet in Mexico, or this idiot in Colombia who's like, get me, whatever, he's out of his mind. Yeah, they might be next. Why not? Boy, oh boy. If you're new to the program, make sure that you subscribe. And, you guys, I started asking you guys to do this over the weekend, and I want to thank you. You guys have. A lot of you have been doing this. Joining my marketing team. And what my marketing team is simply you taking the link to this program and sharing it on your social media and inviting your friends and followers to check out the show. And I know a lot of you have been doing that. Thank you so much for doing that. I don't have a marketing budget or anything. I've got you good people, and I want to thank you for doing that. And if you could please continue to do that, you can, of course, grow the reach of the program, and I'll be forever grateful. All right, let's take another call or two. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike.
Xi must be, like you say, crapping his pants right now because he's been saber-rattling for a long time. You better not come here and defend Taiwan, right? And he must be crapping his pants because he now knows that if we want to go and get him, we can.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right, Mike, I appreciate the call. Not to cut you off, but we got some sad and breaking news, and it's Michael Reagan has passed away. Michael Reagan is the son of President Reagan and I just forgot her name. I have it on the tip of my tongue. President Reagan's first wife, Jane Wyman. Jane Wyman and Ronald Reagan were Michael Reagan's parents, not Nancy. And Michael Reagan was a pretty good guy. His brother, Ron Reagan Jr., liberal jerk, probably still is, but always liked Michael Reagan. And it's sad to hear about the passing of Michael Reagan. He used to tell great stories about his dad because he was the oldest, because Jane Wyman's mother. And I just saw Jane Wyman, my wife and I, a few days ago. We watched the pilot first episode of Falcon Crest from the 80s. You guys remember Falcon Crest? It was a show kind of like Dallas or Dynasty, except it was about wine people in California. And Jane Wyman, President Reagan's first wife, was the star of that show. She was a damn good actress, Jane Wyman. And Michael Reagan used to tell great stories about his dad because he was old enough to remember when his dad was out in Hollywood still. And I remember him telling this story, Michael Reagan, about his dad talking about why he became a Republican. Because if you remember, President Reagan was a Democrat. And not only was he a Democrat, he was a union boss. He was the president of the Screen Actors Guild and all this stuff. And Michael Reagan, he was telling this story. He was driving with his dad in his dad's convertible somewhere out in California, Pacific Coast Highway. And his dad was telling him how he had to pay 90% of his income in taxes. They used to have a 90% income tax bracket back in those days. And that was one of the things that woke up Ronald Reagan to become a Republican. But and then Michael Reagan was a radio talk show host for a long time. And I haven't heard or thought about him in a while. But I always liked Michael Reagan. Ron Reagan Jr., that's a whole nother story. Now, if you'd like to support my program, become a Patreon supporter. Now, remember, if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes that are available to Patreon supporters on the Patreon platform. I also do live streams on the Patreon platform for Patreon supporters only. In fact, I did a live stream over the weekend for Patreon supporters, and it's a troll-free zone. No liberal trolls allowed, just Patreon supporters. And those are always good and fun, and they're much more casual. It's much like the live stream here on YouTube, except it's on the Patreon platform, and it's much more casual, where I open up about some things that I don't cover here, and you get a lot of behind the scenes. Plus, my wife and I post things on the Patreon page that we post nowhere else but there. There's a link in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening to on. That'll take you directly to my Patreon page. And if you become a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen and a live on-air thank you shout-out on every podcast episode. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, and Doris. Thank you to my top Patreon supporters. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.